announced by Western leaders, the man in the street died in 18. Salman Rushdie's book in 1989, roughly. And secondly, it was after 9/11. And how did this division, the suspicion take place? After 9/11, the word Islamic terrorism, Islamic radicalism. Now, when these terms started becoming currency and announced by Western leaders, the man in the street does not understand. When you say Islamic radicals, it seems that there's something in the religion that makes people radical. And the man in the street cannot distinguish between a moderate Muslim and a radical Muslim. Terrorism has no religion. In every human society, they're extremists. They are liberals, they're extremists, and bulk of the people are moderates.
Well, I was just going to say, though, you've talked about this at the United Nations and many other places about a need for a holistic approach by the international community. What does that mean to you practically, Prime Minister? What do you need to see there? So
every forum, I've been trying to say this because the two, communities, Muslims living in Western world, they're the ones who suffer from Islamophobia. And then they suffer, we hear about incidents. A lot of incidents don't get reported, but we know about it. Our embassies tell us. So this gap needs to be closed.
In this instance, it appears it was one person radicalized in some way on his own who did this. What is it that government should be doing, for instance, to shut down online hate toward Muslims?
I think there should be a very strict action against this, because you see these hate websites, which again, as I said, would divide humanity by creating hatred, ignorant about the other human community, and you target them and this hate material, and especially with the growing social media. And social media is a completely, the world is just coming to grips with it because it's a new phenomenon. And unfortunately, while there's so many benefits of social media, it's changing the whole world. But this one particular bit, when there are these hate websites which create hatred amongst human beings, there should be an international action against them.
And what would that look like to you, Prime Minister? What would be the mechanism for doing that, if you will?
Whenever the international community, and by that I mean the world community, the world leaders, whenever they decide upon taking action, this will be dealt with. The problem is, at the moment, there is not enough motivation. Some international leaders or leaders in the Western countries actually don't understand this phenomena. They too think that the Muslims are these weird people who have these weird customs, and they need to be put in place. So it just needs to be brought together, and there has to be understanding, and this can be promoted by world leaders.
Do you plan to reach out to Justin Trudeau to have a conversation about this?
Yes, I will. I've had previous conversations with Justin Trudeau as well, and I have to say we mostly agree with most things.
You may be aware, too, of a law in the province of Quebec here that bans public servants, teachers, judges, and others from wearing visible religious symbols, which obviously affects Muslims who wear the hijab, for instance. Quebec says this is a law about secularism. What do you make of that kind of law existing in Canada?
I find this, secular extremism. It really is against, you see, the whole idea behind secularism is liberalism. You want humans to basically, be free to express the way they want to be, as long as it doesn't cause pain and hurt to other human beings. That's how I understand what liberalism is. So if someone covers their hair, their head, why has it become such a big issue? And I feel this is just a symptoms. The main reason behind this becoming such a big issue is because of the way Islam is perceived. And that's why that understanding has to take place. And I also say one thing, Rosemary, that Muslim world also must, heads of Muslim states must be able to present their cases in world forums like the United Nations and the European Union, so to improve this understanding. And I actually do, people objecting to hijab or, sometimes, people with beards, although beards are now becoming very trendy, all the shorter ones. So people objecting to this is quite bizarre for me, because, again, I repeat, in the liberal Western democracies, why is this such a big issue? Unless the reason behind it is that there's actually fear of the other. There's a suspicion. They actually do believe that there's something in Islam that leads to radicalism and to extremism and to terrorism. And unfortunately, I repeat again, there are certain Western leaders who believe this.
Right. You are speaking about Islam writ large, of course, but as you know, it is very diverse. There are many different groups of Muslims in the world. You have previously said, sir, that you are not aware of events happening in Xinjiang province in China. Canada's parliament has said what's happening to the Muslim minority Uyghurs there is a genocide. Why do you not advocate for those Muslims as you do for Muslims elsewhere?
Let me just be clear, Rosemary. Number one, Islamophobia does not affect us Muslims living in Muslim countries. It only affects Muslims in Western countries. And because I know and spend time in Western society, I understand what they go through. So that's why I raise my voice. Now, as for what is the situation of Muslims all over the world, just look at the situation from Libya, come to Syria, to Iraq, to Afghanistan, to Somalia. So there is a serious political problem in the Muslim world and suffering.
Yeah, I understand that, Prime Minister.